Our next topic of the day, as Roy's Galaxy scarf falls into the abyss, is MLS. Speaking of ditching stuff, our good friends from the NWSL got rid of their draft. So, boys, should MLS do the same as Roy has recovered his scarf?
Roy, I saw you were at an Angel City FC game. Is that right? Recently?
I went to my first Angel City FC game in the den of sleazy players, which is LAFC's players, LAFC's team. But Angel City was a blast. It was so much fun to watch. I got to see Sidney Leroux score in the 91st minute to win the game for Angel City, which is pretty awesome. It's amazing to see Leroux and Christian Press. I think I knew they played for Angel City. I'm kind of ashamed to admit that I maybe did not, but it was just fantastic seeing legends there.
That's why we don't have Roy on the US.
That's why, yeah.
And, give it a few months, Roy. We give it a few months of Angel City games, and you're coming on, right?
But how was the fan experience? I'm intrigued because was it your first NWSL game?
Yeah, first one. So I took my wife with me. She absolutely loved it. She got kind of emotional because she hasn't seen a professional women's soccer game. Very recent that we've had NWSL. We used to have the LA Soul with Marta. I don't know if you guys remember that. But the fan experience is very different from an LAFC game or an LA Galaxy game in that people are just Galaxy fans are friendly, but they were just so friendly and just there to have a good time. There's tons of kids and the supporter section is like jumpy and smiley and great times. And a player gets injured and no one's yelling at him to get up and cussing at the ref or anything like that. They even cheer for the opposition sometimes, which was kind of nice. When an opposing player gets up from a head injury, everyone claps, which I think is good manners. I appreciated that. It was nice. I don't think it'll have the supporters culture of MLS, which is more rivalry focused. I don't feel rivalries brewing in the same way, but I think that's a good thing. I think it's nice to have an environment where you could go and have fun and bring your kids and everyone's going to have a great time.
Is it more fun than a Galaxy game? Because let's be honest about the Galaxy fan experience. It's not great.
It's good. What do you mean it's not good? You haven't been to a Galaxy game in 20. You haven't been to a Galaxy game since
Rose Bowl. But I think that brings us to the topic we're talking about now is that the NWSL has made some changes, and they made some changes that I think the MLS should have made, hasn't made. And I wonder, boys, if the NWSL is thinking bigger than MLS, because NWSL, by ditching the draft, has moved to a more European model, right? They've mimicked the European clubs. So are they seeing what MLS isn't seeing, which is soccer is, needs to, in order to thrive in the US, we need to think about how it thrives across the world.
Yeah, before moving on, and I'll turn it over to Roy in a second, but we did put out a video there for those of you who are watching on YouTube about the specific topic of NWSL ditching the draft. So just to kind of summarize it for those who have not seen that, is essentially to make themselves more competitive with the European leagues and allowing players to go the top level talent, attract top level talent. NWSL has ditched the draft. So of course, our most ardent supporter on this particular panel, maybe in the history of MLS, the most ardent supporter.
What a title!
Is Roy? Oh, Roy, our boy Roy over there. So, Roy, what do you think? What do you think about this for MLS?
It's a hard one. I mean, look at the players we've seen come through the draft. I mean, Dempsey, Altidore. I mean,
Gyasi
Zardes, my guy, man, incredible. Recently, what was it? Last year's draft, we saw Bombito, who just made a massive move to Europe and superstar for the Canadian national team. There's been so many incredible players come through the draft. U.S. national team stars have come through the draft. There's a beauty to how unique we are as a nation, where you could get an education and become a professional soccer player. I think that's very American. There's something super American about that. But we are growing past this stage in MLS where a player who spends 4 years playing 3 to 4 months out of the year can then leave that environment where they're never playing. They're resting for 7 months out of the year, not prioritizing soccer, and then coming and going into a professional environment.
You're talking about college, right?
You're
college
soccer is a disaster. It's not. I mean, reflective.
We're beyond the point in this country where our best players should be playing in college, right? And the system right now still pretends that those players are going to come from college, and they aren't. The draft is designed for college players to make it in, to make pro, right? That's what they do in football, American football, in basketball. But the best players aren't coming through our college system. So why do we have this draft?
They're not. It's for the beautiful stories. People want to build soccer from the grassroots stages. And to do that, to get a player coming out of UCLA, to get a player coming out of Syracuse, to get a player coming out of Columbia, who then becomes a star for the national team, that builds soccer at the college level. It's American sports as well. If we want to build the American sports audience, look at college football. But
it's a different, and I think the soccer audience here in this country is a much more international audience. It's not necessarily the same audience that's watching college football, maybe a little bit, and college basketball. It's an audience that is international, and they watch the Premier League, they watch La Liga, because they understand that's where the best soccer is being played. I don't think they are under any disguise about the fact that college soccer here isn't good.
True.
It's not. The product is not good, Roy. I mean, when's
terrible.
the last time you watched a college soccer game in full? I mean, you probably watched a little bit, but not in full, right?
I watched some,
Okay.
and it's low level. The divide between college soccer and MLS is absolutely monumental. It's such a drastic difference. But I think you're mistaken, and I think from a marketing perspective, from a fan growth perspective as well, I don't think the average MLS fan or the average target audience for MLS is the La Liga fan, is the EPL diehard fan, is the Arsenal supporter for life. I think they're maybe looking at that, but they're also looking at the American sports fan. They're looking at the college football fan to convert them to a soccer fan. They're looking at the people who support their local hockey team, their local NBA team, their local MLB team, and converting them to soccer. So I think that's just as much of a priority. Getting rid of soccer, you get rid of that pipeline of not only players, but fans.
But guess what? But those are the same, because when you and I grew up, we're a bit old now. In our classroom, let's say second grade, no one else was watching soccer, right? Nowadays, and even in college, high school, very few, like some of us that came from international backgrounds, children of immigrants, we were watching soccer, but a lot of people weren't. That's changed, Roy. Even those people you're talking about who are watching American football, college basketball, college football, hockey, they all watch soccer, but they're not watching MLS. They're watching Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal. They all have teams. Chelsea, Barcelona, Real Madrid, right? Borussia Dortmund. They all have teams. There's a reason these teams are so keen to get American players, because they understand they have a viewing audience in the US. Times have changed.
I don't think I got an answer from you guys. So is the answer yes or no? What are you guys each saying? Like, should they ditch it or no?
I mean, just looking at this past year's draft, I had to refresh to see who got picked in the top 10. You look at the top 10, and not a single player in the top 10 of the draft is doing really anything. Tyrese Spicer for Toronto was the number draft pick. He has like 1 goal for Toronto. Frederick, Colorado. There's a list of nobodies. I'm going through the list. It's going to take me a while to find one.
This doesn't sound like a yes or no answer.
It's a no. I mean, there's no. Okay. In the past couple of years, Bombito's won. There's a few that have come out of the draft who have gone on to do great things. So wait,
you're saying yes or no to get rid of the draft?
I'm saying no to the draft. I don't.
Okay, so they should get rid of the draft.
So MLS should do what the NWSL has.
Yeah, are you in agree? Are you guys in agreement, Rahi, or what?
Yeah, no, I am in agreement, because I think fundamentally, I think Ashana said this on another episode, but she said that, she said NWSL is American, but fundamentally soccer is not, right? It's European, and it's international. It's South American. It's from all over the world. And we have to realize that we're the only league in the world that has a draft.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I agree with you both. I think they should ditch. They should ditch it, just like the other scarf has fallen off Roy's background. You didn't even notice, but it's all gone for those. And that's a good point where I can remind our viewers on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel as we continue on in the podcast.